The world's most critical oil choke point is about to explode into crisis. Trump has just issued a 48-hour ultimatum to Iran as tensions in the Strait of Hormuz threaten to cut off 20% of the globe's oil supply.
The country could be taken out in one night.
Markets are already in freefall. Energy prices are spiking worldwide. And we're potentially hours away from an economic shockwave that could crash global markets. This is breaking news that will affect every person watching this video. Here's exactly how we got to this breaking point. Early this morning, Iranian Revolutionary Guard forces seized a commercial vessel in the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway that serves as the world's most vital oil transit route. The seized vessel was reportedly carrying cargo bound for European markets when Iranian forces boarded and diverted it to Iranian waters. Within hours, President Trump responded with an unprecedented 48-hour ultimatum, demanding the immediate release of the vessel and guarantees of safe passage for all commercial shipping. According to Pentagon sources, Trump's message to Tehran was clear: release the vessel and ensure free navigation, or face immediate consequences. The Pentagon has already confirmed that naval reinforcements are en route to the region, with additional destroyers and support vessels being deployed from the Fifth Fleet. But here's where this gets really serious for your wallet. Oil futures jumped 8% in overnight trading, and that's just the beginning. Energy analysts are calling this the most significant threat to global oil supply since the 1980s tanker wars. Why should you care about a shipping dispute thousands of miles away? Because the Strait of Hormuz isn't just any waterway, it's the jugular vein of the global economy. 21% of all petroleum liquids transit through this narrow channel, making it the world's most critical energy choke point. To put this in perspective, if this strait closes, it's like cutting off 1/5 of the world's oil supply overnight. History shows us exactly what happens next. During previous Hormuz crises, oil prices spiked by 40 to 60% within days. We're talking about gasoline potentially hitting $6 to $7 per gallon in the United States, heating costs doubling across Europe, and supply chain disruptions that could trigger global recession fears. But the stakes go beyond economics. This crisis threatens to derail any remaining hopes for US-Iran nuclear negotiations and could reshape Middle Eastern geopolitics for decades. Iran knows exactly what they're doing. They're using the world's energy supply as leverage in their broader conflict with Washington. Let's break down how different players are viewing this crisis, because the narrative depends entirely on who you ask. The US position is clear. Secretary of State officials are calling this reckless escalation that threatens international commerce and violates maritime law. According to State Department briefings, Iran is using innocent commercial vessels as pawns in their broader confrontation with American sanctions. But Iran sees this completely differently. Tehran's official response claims they're defending their territorial waters against what they call illegal sanctions and economic warfare. Iranian officials argue that US sanctions have already strangled their economy, and they have every right to inspect vessels in waters they consider their sovereign territory. Meanwhile, European allies and other nations are caught in the middle. The EU is calling for immediate de-escalation while still supporting freedom of navigation principles. But here's what's really got markets spooked. Energy analysts from Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan are warning that if this conflict escalates beyond diplomatic posturing, we could see oil prices surge past $150 per barrel. That would make the 2008 energy crisis look like a minor inconvenience. So what happens next? Trump's 48-hour deadline expires tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and the world is holding its breath. OPEC has called an emergency meeting for later this week to discuss potential strategic reserve releases, but that might be too little, too late if shooting actually starts. Market volatility is expected to intensify as Asian and European trading opens, with energy stocks likely to see massive swings in both directions. But here's the wild card nobody's talking about. This crisis has the potential to draw in other regional powers. Saudi Arabia has already increased security around their oil facilities, and Israel is reportedly on high alert for potential Iranian retaliation. The next 48 hours will determine whether this remains a diplomatic standoff or escalates into something that could reshape global energy markets for years to come. Here's the question that will define the next few days. Will Trump's ultimatum force Iran to back down, or will Tehran double down and escalate this crisis even further? And more importantly for you, how will rising energy costs affect your country's economy and your personal finances? This is a developing story that could change everything. So make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell, because we'll be covering every major development as this crisis unfolds. What do you think? Is this a calculated bluff by both sides? Or are we heading toward a real conflict that could crash global markets? Let me know in the comments below.